Documents show DEQ warned Hanover landfill about groundwater contamination. Sean Jones, Richmond Times-Dispatch, April 8, 2025. The Hanover landfill applying to expand has a recent history of detecting contaminants like chloroform and cobalt in the surrounding groundwater. Residents opposing the expansion of that facility have pointed to those environmental readings as the reason that they're fearful of the landfill expanding and extending its life for another 30 years. Meanwhile, the landfill operator has disputed many of the readings that found excess contaminants in 8 groundwater monitoring wells on the property. It blames faulty testing conditions in some cases and anomalous test results in others. Documents obtained by the Times-Dispatch show that the Ashcake Road Landfill, near Lewistown Road and Interstate 95, has been under heightened scrutiny from the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality since 2021. DEQ warned the facility last year about exceedances of groundwater contamination, while citing it for improperly reporting truckloads for illegal dumping. The facility also faced an investigation from OSHA in 2003 after the death of an employee on the job. The Ashcake Road Landfill is a construction and demolition debris landfill. The waste deposited at such landfills should be non-hazardous. It takes materials like brick, concrete, or other masonry materials. It should not take hazardous materials such as paints, coatings, solvents, liquids, or compressed gases. Ledbetter Inc., the landfill's parent company, is applying to open a 95-acre portion of the property as a completely new landfilling pit. The current pit is set to reach capacity before the end of the year, when it would start closing procedures unless granted an expansion. The landfill has become a recurring issue for many who have lived in the area since its initial approval. That includes Brown Grove, a historically Black community founded by formerly enslaved people. Residents say that the landfill owner promised throughout the years that the landfill would never expand its trash pit. The landfill operator did file for an expansion in 2022. That proposal was rejected by the Board of Supervisors and was fought heavily by nearby residents. The Planning Commission narrowly recommended the current expansion plan for approval. The Board of Supervisors will have the final word over the project at its April 23rd meeting. The landfill's increased scrutiny by DEQ began in 2021 when it was placed into Phase 2 monitoring. Phase 2 monitoring is usually triggered when statistically significant levels of pollutants are detected in the property's monitoring wells. In its 2022 annual groundwater report, the landfill measured both cobalt and chloroform at levels that exceeded groundwater protection standards. The chloroform reading was 6 times higher than the regulatory threshold. The facility showed similar levels of chloroform throughout its groundwater monitoring between 2023 and 2024. The operator has attributed that to an abandoned septic tank that used to be attached to the property's office. That tank was abandoned in 2013 when the office connected to county wastewater. The landfill applied to raise its groundwater protection standard for cobalt, claiming that the metal is naturally high in the area. That increase was granted. Cobalt levels measured at the next groundwater monitoring event were still found to be above that heightened threshold, the maximum allowed. At a sampling event in November 2023, the facility found arsenic, beryllium, cadmium, cobalt, thallium, and chloroform to all be above groundwater protection standards. Most of those readings were more than double the safety threshold. 5 of those 8 readings were made by one monitoring well. The landfill's owners argued that the water column was too low in that specific well to get accurate readings. They said that upon attempting follow-up verification samples, the well had gone dry. Heavy metals like arsenic and cadmium have been noted to be common in construction and demolition debris landfill runoff, per a 2015 study by the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. Beryllium and thallium are less common, but they can come from materials like paints and sealants. DEQ issued a warning letter to the facility in April 2024, saying that the facility may be in violation of state water control law. The letter said that the landfill had shown suspended solids were above the maximum allowed between July and December 2023. The landfill disputed claims in that letter. It said that some measurements were not taken because of an error at the third-party testing laboratory in North Carolina. It disputed others, saying that the samples were held longer than the recognized testing window before they were tested. Many residents told Hanover's Planning Commission during the most recent meeting that these environmental contaminants were their biggest concern about the landfill's expansion. DEQ issued letters to the Ashcake Road Landfill in 2014 and 2018. Those letters said that the landfill was not properly checking trucks for unauthorized waste. In 2014, it wasn't meeting the threshold of inspecting 1% of total in-state loads for unauthorized waste. In 2018, DEQ said that the landfill did not document any rejected loads. Facility staff said it had rejected some loads but did not document them. The facility was also cited that year for inspecting less than 1% of the loads for unauthorized waste. Residents have also brought up a death that occurred at the facility in 2003. OSHA opened an inspection and investigation of the facility that year after the death of one employee and the hospitalization of another. That resulted in about $360,000 in fines, for which the landfill ultimately paid $34,000. A mechanic employed at the site went into a 7-foot-deep manhole area to fix a sump that had failed over the weekend. He was asphyxiated by methane and hydrogen gas. The second employee was injured attempting to get the first employee out. OSHA issued 7 serious violations and 2 other violations. Hanover resident Bob Nelson, in sending this information to the county's planning department, wrote that the landfill had failed for worker safety. He said this should be grounds for denying the new landfill expansion altogether. The safety and life and death of workers is a serious matter, he said. Transparency is critically important. The Central Virginia Waste Management Authority has said that landfill space across the region is running out. If the Ashcake Road Landfill closes, there will be only 3 construction and demolition debris landfills remaining with about 7 years capacity. The Ashcake expansion has been heavily supported by contracting businesses that say their costs will increase if they have to haul their trash 16 extra miles to Goochland or 40 extra miles to Chesterfield.